Okay, so this is the second video we're doing. This is actually breaking down the grand, getting it on the board so we can pad it up, put it on the dolly so we can move it. So what we've done so far that you didn't see is we actually maneuvered the piano on the pads, again, so we don't roll it on the floor and scratch the floor with the wheels, into a position where we have enough room to get the piano over, right? We don't want to be running into anything. Sometimes they're in tight spaces, but we want to get the piano in a position where it's easy to work with. We've got our piano board here, positioned correctly, pad underneath it again so it doesn't scratch the floor, lip of the piano towards the front of the piano. People mess that up somehow, but just you got to have the lip at the front of the piano, and you got to have it on the flat side of the piano, not the curved side. The piano's going to go down. This side of the piano is going to wind up on this part of the board. Again, basic things. We have our tools. Everything's on a pad. We don't want anything on the floor, like even a screwdriver. If you step on it, it could scratch the floor. So we're being very aware of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pad up the key cover, which is this. It covers the keys. Self-explanatory. And it also helps pad the music rack or the music desk. There's other terms for it. But what we do is we fold this down. We get these mechanisms out of the way. Anything that might block it. We slide this back as far as it will go. So it runs into, till it stops. All right, so next thing, we want to put this in here in a way, sometimes we'll fold it over, sometimes we won't, but we want to make sure it's nice and snug. We know on this piano we need to fold it, so we drop it over, and that wedges inside so that it keeps the key cover from moving when you're transporting it, because again, it's going to be up on the side. So we take the remainder of this, put it inside the piano, and what this does is it covers up the music desk so that during transport again the music desk doesn't bounce and hit the bottom of the piano and scratch it. All right. So again, the music desk slid all the way back. We're going to fold this over and put that in the slot. So now key cover protected, music desk protected. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the pedals off the piano. James is going to do that while I talk. Some people will try and leave the pedals on. Our method that we prefer is to go ahead and take the pianos off, take the pedals off the piano, excuse me, when we're transporting. This particular piano has screws that hold the pedals on. Some of them have a sliding mechanism. You'll just have to kind of get under there and see what's going on. A key thing that you can't see here is the pedal mechanisms work up and down. The pedal rods go up and down like this, working the pedal mechanisms. Usually there's a hook that comes down and holds those things on, because everything in the pedals is held spring loaded, because it goes up and down and the spring pushes it down. And you want to make sure that hook is underneath any kind of levers or anything under there, because if you don't, you take the pedals off, the spring pushes down, everything comes out, and then you got to figure out how the pedal mechanism works, put it all back together again. They're bolts out of the way. Pedal supports, again, you want to make sure these are on some type of soft surface. Pedals out. Again, always placing them someplace not on the floor. Carpet. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our pad actually on our grand board. Oh yeah, let's do that one. This is actually an important part also. You want to choose the right pad. Some of the pads are slicker, some of them are more grippy. Depends on the finish of the piano. In this case, we're going to use a slick pad. And there's two different ways it can go on this board also, because the pad is not square. That's one direction. This is the other direction. All right, I think it was the right way. Yep. We always want to put it on there the shortest way. That way we have more pad to go around the piano. You want to have a little excess hanging over, but pretty much even with the edge. All right, that gets us.
Facing out, so when we lower it down, it'll kick.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to do that. That is actually the opposite of when we set it when we actually set it up, we want to make sure those.
That was good.
I think this one's okay. All right, this one we're taking off, so it doesn't make a huge difference. All right, what we're going to do right now, we're getting ready to actually drop this thing, so we want to make sure we got everything ready now, not once we lift the piano and then try and figure it all out. We want to get as close as possible. So we're going to go ahead and undo our mechanism under here. All right. So I'm going to lift. He's going to pull the leg out. So I lift it. He knocks it out. I, of course, wait for him to help me. And notice we're both on the corner of the piano. This is where the weight is. And you want to make sure you hit the middle or close to the middle of the board. You don't want to be too close to the edge. You don't want to be too far that way. But that's very important. It's actually the most important part, is to get that down on the edge of the board. Not the edge, but actually closer to the middle. Next thing we'll do is we're going to lift the piano. We want to have our rubber band ready for this. Another common error is you lift the piano and you forget about it. You get the piano up vertically, the lid falls over. Bad news. Always be ready to have your rubber band ready to lift. Again, same thing. We're going to count this off. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Up we go. Now we're sliding the piano to where the lid touches the edge of the board. All right. Get your rubber band on so you don't have to worry about the lid anymore. And see, the lid hangs over. It's actually bigger than the piano, so we don't want the lid on the board. We want it right up against the edge, and then we want the piano right up against the lip. It's more stable that way. So we're pushing it up there now. So we're good. We're up against the lip right here. We've got some pad protecting that, and we've got the lid right up against that. So next thing we're going to do is take the other legs off. The next step is to pad and strap the piano. We're just going to kind of do this. We'll talk as we're doing it. There's a specific way of doing it, but different people do it different ways. So first thing we do is pull this.
Just pull the rubber band. Put it on the outside of the pad.
Try to make this as neat as possible. You don't want a bunch of pads falling off and getting in your way and that kind of thing. So what he's doing there is he's kind of tucking it into the little lid a little bit. That'll help quite a bit, keep it from falling down. Putting the pads on here is a little tricky. What we generally are trying to do is the bottom edge of this pad, we want to keep it horizontal or parallel with the ground. In other words, we don't want it like that, we don't want it like that. So we're trying to at all times keep that there. And what I do is I drop it down to the level I want to cover up all the exposed areas on the piano. And then I flip this side over, and then I flip this side over again. You're trying to keep this down here level. You don't want the pad hanging off, because once you get on the dolly, it could get hung under the dolly. There's all kinds of bad stuff that can happen. So we got everything covered. You want to just kind of check and make sure you got all your exposed areas covered.
You did it right. The pad is vertical on either side of the piano, about halfway.
Yeah. Remember, this is the ugly side, this is the pretty side, so you want to make sure you have anything like that covered. All right, we'll go ahead and put the pad on the back. Come around here so you can see this, but this is also a little bit tricky. We'll let James do that, and I'll describe it as we're doing it. Same kind of thing. It tends to want to fall off the piano, so you want to make sure you have enough padding on there. And we described the pads. The slick pad on the bottom works good, but these pads that are a little rougher, a little less slick, will tend to kind of grab and hold on there a little bit better. All right, so the next thing, now we have the piano padded. You can go back to your other position. We're going to strap the piano. Again, you want to be careful with these buckles. The other strap's in there behind him. On these straps, this particular strap, you have a short side that's fixed, here's the ratchet, here's the buckle. You always want to put that side on the bottom of the piano. The other side, you know, will get longer or shorter as you pull it out. This side's at a fixed length. And the reason that is you want your ratchet on the bottom of the piano. Again, ugly part of the piano, if you put your ratchet here and you strap your piano up to the truck, you got a buckle making a big dent right in the top of your piano.
Another thing, tedious but important, always start with the side that he's starting it on now, on the ugly side of the piano, but also the front of the piano. So strap it crisscross and come around and push the piano towards the lip, towards the front of it.
Yeah, it's actually more stable if you can get it up against this lip and on the side of the piano. Alright? A lot of times this is a two-man thing because, again, you're trying to keep these buckles from banging into the piano, banging into the floor, that kind of a thing. There's been more damage to pianos from buckles and straps than have ever been from running it into something or hitting the door jamb or anything like that. Now when you get ready to tighten this thing up, you got to remember this thing has got a lot of torque, and you could actually crush a piano if you torque this thing enough. So you want to look and make sure you're not up against anything fragile, any parts of the pianos that might break. And then if you're pretty satisfied it's in a good spot, you want to go ahead and tighten it up. And you don't have to get super tight, you just want to get it good and snug. You keep cranking it, you can actually do a lot more damage. You want to take the remainder or the excess strap that you have and try and, in some fashion, secure that to where you're not tripping over it. Again, loose blankets, loose straps, things like that. I normally will just tuck it into under the strap itself. That way, you know, when I step on a thing or trip or something like that, kind of secure it. Alright, so we got that buckled in. We're going to have a separate video of strapping it onto the truck, and we're going to actually explain the way these straps work. I'll give you a short explanation now. This is called E-track strap. And what it is I'll show you right here. This thing has got two sides to it. It's got like a little trigger side. When you pull that trigger, it makes it a little bit bigger. You put this side into the slot first, then this side second, then you let off the trigger, and then you pull it and jiggle it and make sure it's locked in place. Very important. Now sometimes it clicks and you think it's in there, but it's not. So pull the trigger first, put the trigger side in the slot, then the other side in the slot, let off the trigger, and check. This particular board is a little difficult, we found. Sometimes you'll have that where the buckle doesn't work as well. You always want to check it like that, make sure it's in there. Now notice how we're strapping this. This thing goes through the hook in the piano right beside the keys. That keeps that strap from coming off there or slipping or sliding or anything like that. And it'll compress these pads, so sometimes you want to go back and check it after it's compressed the pads a little bit and make sure you're in good shape. Again, securing your excess. Alright, next step, putting the piano on the dolly. Very important. Again, we have our pad under here. We have our dolly ready. You know, we're going to tilt it up right here on this. James is going to lift. I'm going to pull back. The guy on this end, it's important when you're counting it off, 1, 2, 3, go. Really heave-ho, because right now you got a lot of dead weight. It's a very low center of gravity. In other words, it's very close to the ground where all the weight is. So you have to get a little momentum to go. This is not a big piano, so it's not going to be a problem. So we're going to do this here real quick.
Another thing, if you look at the board, there's straps on either end of it. Just grab a hold of those straps and lift with your legs. You go to lift.
Yeah, you're almost going to be squatting all the way down like this and lifting up with your legs. You don't want to be bending and trying to lift it like this. You're just going to kill your back. You know, he's going to get all the way down in a squatted position, and I'm going to really rear back, and it's going to come up pretty easy.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, once you're satisfied that it's good and stable, you've got it at a nice angle so he's not holding a lot of weight. The other guy comes around, puts the dolly under here. All right, come around here and let me show you what I'm doing with the dolly. It's kind of important. All right, so I'm putting the dolly under here, and I can go this far with it. But if I tilt it up, it goes a little bit further. And where you want this thing, you know, you may have to experiment a little bit, but with a shorter piano, you want it a little closer to the front. As the pianos get longer, you want it a little further back. Like a 7-foot piano, you want it about that close to the front. And the reason is because this is the heavy end, this is the lighter end. but the longer it gets, the heavier the back end gets. So right now, we're pretty good. Now, one of the common mistakes is that, you know, because this board dips in right here, people will tend to put the dolly in like that. But you want to make sure it's good and parallel, a couple inches hanging out right about the middle. All right, there you go. You're good to go. All right, so we're good to go. Piano's packaged up, ready to go. All we have to do is roll it out of here. Again, one guy on either end.